Is actually not me, about me. It's about Punjab's story, Anup's story. Anup actually spoke last year, and some people had trouble hearing what he was talking about his life. So recently I went up to him and asked him would he mind putting it, was he able to get it put down on paper, and I would be really happy to read it out. So when we had our open day in February, his friend Paul, who's a neighbour of his, wrote this story about Anup. So I'm going to read it out to you so that you know what his journey through life has been like. A true heart-wrenching story that must be shared. Once or twice in a lifetime, you meet someone who inspires you. It can be something they say, something they do, an act of kindness, or a story they tell. Whatever it is, it resonates, it touches, it connects with your soul, and there it stays forever as a permanent reminder and lesson that shows what you aspire to. I've had one such inspirational encounter that I must share in the hope you will find it just as inspirational as I have. Background. I live in a normal residential suburb in Auckland. As a build-up to retirement, I have been running a handyman business because I wanted to do something to help people. One day I noticed an advertisement in a local community page where a person was advertising for help with little tasks around their home. I phoned the number, spoke to a woman, Cheryl, and asked her what I could do to help her with. She said that initially it was just things like taking her rubbish and recycling bins up to a collection point at the top of her road. She explained that her husband had health problems and could no longer do this. I lived in the same suburb and said I'd be happy to help, and asked her street address. Lo and behold, she lived in the same street, in a private extension of the same road. I was number 6, and they were 200 metres away at number 9. I agreed to visit her and meet them both. Meeting Cheryl and Anup for the first time. I had been warned by Cheryl that her husband Anup had suffered a medical event that had left him blind. What I didn't realise was that Anup had lived with disability all his life, prior to being blind. It was a surprise to see the challenges he faced since birth. Anup was a thalidomide baby, born with small arms and deformed hands. Things were a challenge for him, but that didn't seem to have held him back. Fortunately, his mind was alert, and the rest of his body was fit and able. As he grew up, started school and went to high school, he kept himself positive and driven to take part in school activities. At one stage, he was declined from attending the high school of his choice because the principal explained that they could not accommodate a young person with disabilities. His mother tried to convince the school that Anup was very capable, but the principal was insistent. Finally, a friend of the family went to bat for them, and Anup was accepted to attend. He really didn't look back from then. His attitude and abilities made it possible for him to create friendships that are still ongoing today. This amazing man achieved what he had hoped for at school, and he eventually moved on to attend university in America. Cheryl met Anup at a university in Mumbai before he left the university in USA. She must have warmed towards him straight away because she kept in touch, and eventually they became an item, got married and had a family. Anup continued with his study and became qualified in business. They moved to New Zealand, eventually buying their own home in Auckland. Anup started small in his job hunting, but found that when he was given a chance, he could prove by his abilities and perseverance that he was an amazing employee. Anup tells the story that Cheryl wore the pants at home, but she loved Anup, and he knew that. Everything was going well. Anup was working and Cheryl found a position that was perfect for her many skills. Things were settled and the family had grown up. In September of 21, Anup was going his normal task of taking wheelie rubbish bin up the road for rubbish collection day. Suddenly he passed out on the side of the road. A neighbour helped him and he was able to walk home. He made it to his lounge before he collapsed. He suffered a cardiac arrest. Cheryl performed CPR while being guided by the ambulance service, which contributed to Anup's survival. When the ambulance arrived, Anup was still in cardiac arrest, but they managed to resuscitate him. He was rushed to hospital where he was treated for a period of 5 to 6 months before being well enough to be sent home. He spent a lengthy time in ICU recovery and at one point had a second cardiac arrest. Cheryl was present when the staff weren't getting a response from him, and she was encouraged to see if she could get a response. After she tried and failed, in desperation she put her hands on her hips and started yelling, "Anup, open your mouth and take out your tongue." After her third or fourth request, and to everyone's amazement, he opened his mouth and wagged his tongue inside his mouth. He had heard her and everyone cheered. His heart condition and lengthy treatment in hospital left him weak, unable to talk clearly, unable to use his arms as much as previously, and he was completely blind. And if he hadn't had enough difficulties with the restraints of his thalidomide condition, Anup now found himself with so many new challenges. His already restricted arm movements were even more restricted, to the point that he was no longer able to feed himself. Cheryl by his side. Suddenly, Cheryl was thrust into organising and to some extent driving the various support groups and agencies that Anup was going to need to help him improve the various repercussions of his heart attack. Cheryl was totally organised and knew what was needed. She was aware that she wouldn't be able to cope on her own. All this while trying to work full-time and continuing bringing in an income. She helped Anup settle back to being home and then began to contact people like the speech therapist, the Blind Institute, physiotherapist, local doctor, massage therapist, friends and limited family members local, friends and family from overseas, community health and support. Anup had been working full-time at the time of his cardiac arrest, but he was clearly not going to be able to work any longer. His employer was nothing short of amazing. They supported Cheryl, kept in regular contact, and once Anup was returned home and his needs were assessed, they helped by providing assistance and encouragement, both practical and financial. But sometimes life can deal more than one serious blow. This was to be the case for Anup and Cheryl. As if Anup's recovery and rehabilitation was not enough to deal with, Cheryl had horrible news of her own. She was diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer. A normal checkup had been missed, and it was decided she needed urgent chemotherapy treatment. Family and friends came to the fore from as far away as England and India. Support was great from all quarters, as Cheryl did what she could to keep herself going for Anup as well. Before too long, it became clear that Cheryl was not going to live long. In the end, she was given just months to live. Sadly, Cheryl passed away on the 26th of May 2023, but not before taking Anup home to India so they could meet with family and friends. While in pain and suffering the effects of chemo treatments, she bravely took herself and her newly blind husband back to their country of origin. It's now January 25, 3.5 years from when Anup had his cardiac arrest, and 1.5 years since Cheryl passed. Anup still misses her dearly. What now for Anup? He lives in a 3-level family home and is reliant on the kindness and service of others. He has carers visit him each day, 3 times a day, to help him with eating meals, supervising him with showering and exercising, providing him with correct medications, cleaning and household things like laundry. He has a carer visit weekly to take him shopping or do his shopping and to transport him to appointments. Sometimes he uses a taxi or Uber, but has to depend on the drivers to help and guide him in less familiar places where he is dropped off. Anup has also signed up with Living My Life program provided by ACC. The service enables Anup to be taken to community group meetings and pool therapy sessions, which assist with keeping his arms and legs moving. Anup says he appreciates the support and guidance extended to him by ACC for his needs. Anup still can't feed himself because he no longer can get eating utensils to his mouth. He's had physiotherapy and massage therapy to improve his arm movement extensions, but so far to no avail. To eat a small item like a biscuit or chip, he places it one by one onto an upturned container on the table and then sucks it into his mouth from there. Meals are all prepared for him. There are some containers of food in the pantry that Anup can reach and access. He uses a small pen-style device, kindly provided by the Blind Institute, to wave over the containers to distinguish the contents. Turning on the TV, radio, music, answering the phone, making calls, reading texts and answering texts can be done with the help of voice-activating phone and Alexa. The ability to use technology has been set up and provided by the Blind Institute. Alexa takes instructions and converts his requests into actions using some amazing technology. Moving around the house is something that amazes me. There are 2 flights of stairs for Anup to negotiate to get up and down from bedrooms to living, dining, kitchen rooms. It is nothing short of amazing to watch how Anup is able to move around the house. Much of what Anup can currently do at home is helped considerably by the fact that he is familiar with the layout of the house because he lived in the same house prior to losing his sight. But having said that, if you want to experience being blind in your own home, just tightly close your eyes and then try walking from your lounge through your dining area and down the hall to your bedroom, ensuite or similar. I've done it and I really struggled. This is Paul saying that. The future for Anup. Anup has said to me a couple of times he wonders what he's got to live for. I totally get it. I would be asking the same question probably over and over again. His physical disability didn't hold him back from having friendships throughout his entire life. Some of those friendships he had in his early childhood in India are still friends. It didn't stop him studying at university in America, getting married and having children and grandchildren. It hasn't stopped him getting jobs and being very well liked and successful in his work. And it hasn't stopped him doing some physical activities and work. The real setback came when he had a cardiac arrest and lost the ability to see and to physically do the already limited physical things he wants and needs to do to support his physical independence. Then to suddenly lose the love of his life, and with that his best friend, companion and soulmate, his security person, his encourager, his caregiver and his support. I get it and totally understand why Anup is feeling the way he is and why he's asking the question. But Anup doesn't give up easily. He has proven this repeatedly throughout his life. In his conversations with Cheryl before she passed away, she encouraged him to promise that he would not give up and that he would continue to live the best life that he could. He wants to honour her by giving this life the best go that he can. Just look at what he has done so far. Speech therapy initially to improve his ability to speak clearly. Exercise program including a weekly pool workout. visits to his temple to sit in silence and connect through his beliefs with Cheryl's spirit and sense the ongoing love and support she offers. Weekly physio and massage appointments on his arms, medical specialist appointments to see if he can get pain relief, maybe surgery so that he might be able to improve his independence. Guidance sessions from the Blind Institute to help him become more independent and gain familiarity with moving around the home, finding food and clothing items, use of phone technology, and guiding him through a program to learn walking up the street without help. Anup has now bravely attended his first community interest group meeting. He has introduced himself and given a summary of his background to a group of complete strangers who have welcomed them into their group. What is Anup to me? Anup is an inspirational man who shows what resilience, determination and drive is all about. I consider Anup one of my closest friends. He is by far the closest man friend I've ever had. I don't see him every day or contact him every day, but he knows I'm just a phone call away and I am committed to help him as much as I can. He is interested in me and the happenings in my life as much as I am in him and what he's going through. We share stories, do plenty of joking, have tears together and have laughs together. And of course we debate politics. He continues to open up about his struggles and I share some of mine. One thing is for sure, I don't have anywhere near the struggles he has, but he listens and he is interested in what's happening in my life. I sometimes wonder what it must be like for him to have grown up with a physical disability and to have personally pushed through the implications of that. He tells me that he was accepted by other children in the early days in India and that he was able to do things like play cricket and other games. And then to have gone through having to prove himself worthy of being accepted in the next level school and later at university in the USA. These challenges must have needed a lot of bravery, perseverance and determination. Anup now finds himself alone and life as he had known it has gone for good. He has family and friends and memories to reflect on and hold on to. His life is much harder and he now has to rely on friends, family and carers to help him through. What an inspiration. Anup's experience has shown me that life is not a straight line. It can deliver some horrible blows. Setbacks don't need to hold you back. You can do anything you set your mind to. As hard as life seems, with the right mindset, anything is possible. Some people, if dealt the hand Anup was dealt, would have given up, while others bounce back to become inspirational and have a huge impact on the lives of others. The secret seems to be to deal with negative thoughts and to change your mindset. Life hasn't been easy for Anup, but he is inspirational in that everything he has achieved has been as a result of a change of mindset. I am blessed to have met this man and his wife and to have been with him through his horrid time. He has inspired me with the way he has taken on everything that has been thrown at him. I'm hoping you will be inspired too. And this is by Paul Edson, neighbour and friend. And I personally think that we as a group are very fortunate to have Anup with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, well I think that concludes